So, hello there, and welcome back to another Night to the Movies podcast. I'm Spike Knight, and in these podcasts, I like talking all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, that's right, I'm reviewing Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. So, let's get into it, shall we? So, if you've been following me for the past couple of months on this channel, you may be wondering why I haven't done any Star Wars reviews for what feels like a while now, because I did my review of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, in July of this year, and I did my review of The Acolyte, the Disney Plus Star Wars TV show, about a month ago in August of this year on this channel. But I haven't done any Star Wars reviews since my review of The Acolyte. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to change that today. I'm going to do another Star Wars review. But I'm not going to review the masterpiece that is Empire Strikes Back. No, instead I'm going to review Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, because why not? I've always enjoyed the Lego Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus, well, the Lego Star Wars stuff that I've seen on Disney Plus, and I am a big Lego fan. And I'm a big Star Wars fan, if you hadn't guessed already. I mean, just look behind me and look at the t-shirt I'm wearing today for this review. And when you combine those two things together, when you combine Lego and Star Wars together, you get Lego Star Wars. And I'm a big Lego Star Wars fan. And I don't care what anybody says. Lego isn't just for kids. Sidebar here, the amount of people I've heard say, ooh, well, Lego's just for kids. It's like every time I hear somebody say that, I want to smack them over the head with a wet fish. And I'm not a violent person whatsoever, but it annoys me so much because, especially nowadays, there is literally Lego designed for adults. And Lego is for all people. It's for all people of all ages. It's not just for kids. Sure, there's some Lego which is primarily targeted at kids, but it's not just for kids. And I still get so much joy building a new Lego set, you know, and seeing that Lego set displayed within in my bedroom. Funny enough, with the camera angle I've got this review on, you can actually see many of the Lego sets in my bedroom. But I do actually have quite a few Lego sets displayed out in my bedroom right now. And I always get a joy when I see them displayed in my bedroom, or when I see them displayed in my kitchen or in my living room. And it just, every time I get a new Lego set, it makes my inner child smile. And I absolutely love building Lego. I still build and collect Lego today, even at the age I'm at now. So yes, Lego isn't just for kids. And if you think it's just for kids, I'm sorry, but you're an imbecile. Because I still collect it, and I am still into Lego Star Wars. I still collect a lot of Lego Star Wars. And I'm also interested whenever a new Lego Star Wars series or Lego Star Wars special releases on Disney Plus. That being said, the last and only Lego Star Wars thing I saw on Disney Plus was the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special, which came out in Christmas of 2020. And I remember watching that and enjoying it far more than I expected to. You know, one of the things I really liked about that special was how it made fun of the Star Wars franchise, how it made fun of the Star Wars fan base, and how it, you know, it went into all the memes. I'm not sure if memes are the right word, but all the theories, you know, all the theories surrounding the Star Wars fan base. And I suppose memes is the right word as well, because there's one moment in that Lego Star Wars Holiday Special where you see Lego Obi-Wan Kenobi from The Phantom Menace, Lego Obi-Wan Kenobi from Revenge of the Sith, and Lego Obi-Wan Kenobi from A New Hope all meet each other, and the first thing they say to each other is, hello there. And if you're a big Star Wars fan, you'll understand the joke. But if you're not a big Star Wars fan, I can see why that wouldn't be for you. But as a big Star Wars fan, and as a big Lego fan, and as a big Lego Star Wars fan, I really, really enjoyed the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. However, I haven't seen any of the Lego Star Wars stuff that's released since then on Disney Plus. And I know there has been some stuff here and there, but I don't know why, I just haven't watched it. But when I saw that there was a new Lego Star Wars series releasing on Disney Plus, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to check that out. And that's exactly what I did yesterday. So, Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy is this newish Lego Star Wars series on Disney Plus. It's got 4 parts to it. And in the series, the plot goes as follows. Not that it matters too much, but the Google plot synopsis goes as follows. After finding an ancient relic that can rewrite reality at will, a young boy named Sig seeks out the solution to the changes with the help of an elusive Jedi long forgotten. And that's pretty much all you need to know about this series before seeing it. And honestly, this series was pretty much everything I hoped and expected it to be. I hoped this would be a silly, fun, creative Star Wars series or Lego Star Wars series, poking fun at Star Wars franchise, playing around with things in the Star Wars franchise, playing around with the Star Wars canon, something that the live-action Star Wars TV shows shouldn't and don't really do at all, actually. And also, this series, I expected it to poke fun at Star Wars fanbase, and that's exactly what it did. It was a really fun show to watch, and I like how it turned Star Wars on its head. At the end of the first episode in this 4-part series, you see all these classic scenes from all 9 main Star Wars movies, quite literally turned on their head. The Battle of Geonosis from the end of Attack of the Clones, that turns into this big battle but on grass. It's still the same scene, but it's in a completely different setting. Then the Battle of Crate from The Last Jedi, which takes place on the Salt planet called Crate, it turns into a pepper planet. And it's things like that at the end of the first episode which made me really smile, and things like that throughout the entirety of the series, which also made me smile quite a lot, because in this series you have beloved Star Wars characters like Luke Skywalker, the protagonist of the original Star Wars trilogy. You see him in the series old, like he was in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, well, like he was in the sequel trilogy as a whole, but he is not living on an island all by himself. Instead, he is this gambler, this pod racer who is loving his life in Mos Eisley Cantina Arena. I think that's what it's called. And I liked how they just messed about with the character bit. They did something which you couldn't do in live action. You can do things in these Lego Star Wars animated TV shows or specials that you can't do in a live action Star Wars thing, because, well, it's not practical to do so, or it wouldn't make sense, or it would annoy too many fans. Whilst if you do it in something animated such as Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, you can mess about with it, you can have fun. And that's exactly what they did with the character of Luke Skywalker in the series. Plus, they got Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy and in the sequel trilogy, to voice Luke Skywalker in this series, which was just like the cherry on the icing on top of the cake. And also, they play around with other beloved characters from from the original Star Wars movies, well, from all 9 Star Wars movies. As you have Darth Jar Jar Binks, yes? Darth Jar Jar is an actual thing in this series. In something that is produced by Lucasfilm, Darth Jar Jar is now a real thing. That's no joke. And some people who may not be Star Wars fans might be wondering, what the hell am I going on about? Darth Jar Jar? Darth Jar Jar was never a thing in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Jar Jar Binks was always a good guy in those films, particularly in The Phantom Menace. Well, if you look up online, there is some genuinely compelling evidence that points Jar Jar Binks to being a Sith Lord and to how he was working with Palpatine in The Phantom Menace on many YouTube videos, basically theorizing that Jar Jar Binks was actually a hidden Sith Lord in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Now, of course, that never happened in the films. The Sith Lord that everybody was looking for was Palpatine in those movies, but at the same time, it was a theory that a lot of Star Wars fans have picked up on over the past however many years. And so it's been this thing in the Star Wars fandom. And I even remember going to Star Wars Celebration last year in London and seeing someone dressed up as Darth Jar Jar is this thing. And, well, Lego Darth Jar Jar is a thing in this series, in Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. He is a thing, and I loved how they did that, and how they got Ahmed Best, who voiced and played Jar Jar in the Star Wars prequel trilogy and in the Clone Wars and whatnot, to voice the character in this series, because they didn't have to do that, but they did. And I don't know, again, it's just the cherry on the icing on top of the cake. And also you have other beloved characters in the Star Wars franchise, like Princess Leia is in this series, but instead of being with Han Solo, she is now with Greedo, the person who Han Solo shoots when you first meet him in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Han shot first, but then there's a funny joke about how Han didn't shoot first in the world that we see in Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. And basically, Han is pining over Leia. He wants to be with Leia. And when our main character, Sig, asks him why he's not with Leia, Han goes, well, Greedo shot his shot first. And it's a funny joke that if you're a Star Wars fan, you would get. And there's plenty of other examples like that in this series. Like you have the Landalorian. A little bit of a spoiler there, but I wanted to say it anyway because I thought it was a very funny addition. You have the Landalorian in this series, voiced by Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian himself. He voices a Landalorian in the series in a very funny and brief cameo, and I liked how it did that. I liked how it turned the Star Wars series on its head, and that a lot of the bad guys you get to see in the 9 main Star Wars movies are good guys in this series, and vice versa. Like Palpatine is the head of the Jedi Council, Jabba the Hutt is a Jedi in this series. You can't make this sort of stuff up, except apparently you can, and you get to see Darth Vader in all white instead of being in all black. And then on the dark side of the stage, you get Darth Jar Jar, you get Darth Kit Fisto, and you get to see Darth Rey and Darth Rose. And Darth Rose is voiced by Kelly Marie Tran herself, who played Rose in The Last Jedi and in The Rise of Skywalker. So you get to see all these Star Wars elements from the 9 main Star Wars movies flipped on their heads, and I loved that about this show, and I did find it really enjoyable. Now, my only criticism, and this is a genuine criticism, this is not me trying to be funny or anything, not that I usually am or anything at the same time, but still, my only criticism with the series is I wish it was more creative. I'm not saying it's not creative, because I do think it is, but I think it had the opportunity to be more creative. One of the things I love about animated TV shows or animated movies is how you can have Easter eggs or references going on in the background of shots, and you don't notice them potentially on your first or maybe even second viewing. It might be like on your third or fourth viewing of a TV series, an animated TV series or an animated movie, where you actually notice, oh my god, there's a joke in the background of this shot, or there's an Easter egg to another film or another TV show in the background of this shot, or there's a reference to another movie in the background of this shot. How many times you see the Pizza Planet, from Toy Story 2 referenced in another Pixar movie. The Simpsons does it quite a lot. How many times you see, jokes in The Simpsons that are sort of hidden behind the characters. That happens all the time. I think it was called Boggle in The Simpsons. Instead of Lego in The Simpsons, I'm pretty sure they went to Blockland or something. Anyway, I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But the point I'm making is you get these sort of jokes in animation that you can't do in live action. That's something I've always admired about animation. It happens in all these different animated TV shows, The Simpsons, Family Guy, and the various other famous animated TV shows like South Park. I don't really watch that sort of stuff, but I know it happens in those shows, and it happens in Pixar movies all the time, and it happens in, Illumination movies all the time, and Lego movies all the time, the big theatrically released Lego movies, or even in the Pixar, sorry, I don't know why I thought Pixar there. I meant to say Aardman movies, your Wallace and Gromit, your Chicken Run, and so on and so on and so on. In the latest Chicken Run, there was a shot of Feathers McGraw, the main villain from The Wrong Trousers, in that movie. There's references to all. That's one of the things I like about animated stuff so much, where you can have these references and everything can be sort of connected, and you can also have jokes going on in the background. But to relate my point to what I'm talking about, you don't really get that in this show. There were a couple of moments in the series where there wasn't really anything going on behind the characters, and the animation did feel a little lazy, and I couldn't help but think, we had something going on in the background there. This could have just made it that bit more enjoyable, and perhaps make me want to watch it again in the future, make me want to come back and rewatch it. Like when you get to Mos Eisley Cantina Arena, or is it Cantina Marina? It's one of the two. When you get to Mos Eisley Cantina in the second episode of this series, you could have had Lego Rancors, Rancor is Jabba's pets from Return of the Jedi. That was also featured in the Book of Boba Fett series. Boy, did I sound like a geek then. Anyway, you could have had Lego Rancors going in the background. I don't know, potentially giving people rides around Mos Eisley, like horse and carriage rides that you actually get in real life. You could have had something like that, or perhaps when you see Darth Dev's base, the big evil base in this series, you could have had the Admiral Akbar clone troopers, and I'm not making this sort of stuff up, by the way, this is all in the series. You could have had the Admiral Akbar clone troopers potentially doing shot practice, because that's a whole thing. Stormtroopers and clone troopers can't actually aim and shoot anybody. That's a joke everyone makes about the Star Wars franchise. Or do they usually just make it about the Stormtroopers? Anyway, get the point I'm making. You could have made that joke, and I just think it would have added a little bit more, and just creative things like that, which, I don't know, maybe small references going on in the background of shots, or Easter eggs happening in the background of shots. And I'm not saying there aren't any, but adding more in could have made this series just that little bit better, and that is my big thing. That's the thing I wanted the most, and the thing that I was kind of disappointed by the most. Saying that I wasn't disappointed by it loads, but that was the thing I was disappointed by the most when I was watching this series. But it was still creative, and it was still enjoyable, and it knew what it was. It knew that it wasn't taking itself too seriously, and rightfully so. This is a Lego Star Wars Disney Plus animated series that, the majority of people aren't going to see. And this show understands that. It has fun with its concept, and, it pokes fun at us as Star Wars fans, because and I include myself in this, us Star Wars fans can sometimes be the worst, focusing on the smallest of details in Star Wars movies and complaining about them to death. And this series does poke fun at us as Star Wars fans, and I liked how it did that. You've got to laugh at yourself sometimes, and plus I liked how this series played around the Star Wars franchise, played around with the canon in the Star Wars franchise, and changed things around in a self-referential and knowing way that did make me smile quite a lot. And each episode of the series just flew by, and each episode like 25 to 30 minutes long, and just flew by. Plus, I really did like the voice cast and the voice acting in this series. None of it sounded phoned in, which doesn't sound like a small thing, but for something like this, a Lego Star Wars Disney Plus animated thing, you would think that the voice acting might be phoned in, because it's this sort of a show. But it wasn't. The voice acting was actually pretty good in my opinion. You got Gaten Matarazzo, who played, I think I pronounced his name there correctly, apologies if I didn't. Gaten Matarazzo, who played Dustin, who plays Dustin in Stranger Things, he voices the main character, and you can tell he's having a lot of fun doing so. Tony Revolori, apologies for mispronouncing his name as well, who played Flash in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, the main bully in those films. He's also been in loads else, like he was the main character in the Grand Budapest Hotel. He voices Darth Dev, the main villain in this series. You can tell that the actors doing the voiceovers are actually having fun doing so, and there is this heart in the series. It's a series which doesn't take itself too seriously, but does have a heart in the relationship between these two brothers, where the relationship has quite literally been lost, and Sig, the main character, is trying to get that relationship back. This series does have a heart, and I like that about it. I like that about it quite a bit. And like I said before, the voice cast, you have people like Mark Hamill coming back to play Luke Skywalker in a kind of way. He doesn't sound like he's phoning it in, which again sounds like a small thing, but I've heard voice actors before, when they sound like they're phoning it in and just doing it for the check, but that didn't sound like it was the case here. So yeah, I really liked all that, and I really enjoyed the show. It's silly, sure, but you don't watch this expecting to see something, on the same lines as Andor. Funny enough, there is actually quite a few references to Andor in this show, but you don't watch something like this expecting the same standard and the same sort of Star Wars series as Andor. You just watch it for a bit of fun, light-hearted entertainment. That's exactly what it was. I will say, if you're not a Star Wars fan, or if you're not a Lego fan, or if you're not a Lego Star Wars fan, you shouldn't watch this show, because I don't think you will get it. You'll probably watch it and probably feel more alienated. If you did watch it, you'd probably feel more alienated by it than actually entertained by it. But if you are a Star Wars fan, if you are a Lego fan, maybe give it a go. I mean, yes, it's primarily targeting its audience at kids, for sure. But it doesn't mean it's not enjoyable still, At least it was enjoyable for me as a Star Wars fan, as a Lego fan, and as a Lego Star Wars fan. And I did find it to be quite a bit of fun to watch. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, I'm going to say that it's a 7 out of 10. Just don't take it too seriously. I haven't given much thought to that rating. I more just wanted to discuss this series because why not? I'm a Lego Star Wars fan, as I've said about 50 times in this review today, and I wanted to talk about the series because, well, the inner Lego Star Wars fan in me wanted to get some stuff out, including the fact that one thing I really loved in this series, and this is the last point I'll make, but it's quite a big point, and I did want to make it, and I realised I'm almost at 25 minutes, by the way, on this review. Blimey, didn't expect to go on for 25 minutes talking about this show, but here we are. The one last point that I want to make is that I really liked in the show how, basically, I bought the Lego sets that are based on this series without realising it. Like, just down here, if you give me a sec. I have the Dark Millennium Falcon with the figures from this series. You got Darth Jar Jar, Old Gambling Luke, Darth C-3PO, which is a character in this series, Dark Ray, and Darth Vader in white. I have the Dark Millennium Falcon as well, which does feature in the show. I bought this set. It's a little dusty now, actually. But anyway, I bought this set before I watched the show without realising it was from this series. And that did make me smile when I was watching the series. I was like, oh my god, I got the figures from this. And that was, because when I used to play Lego Star Wars on my Xbox and PS2 back in the day, one of the things, in my Wii actually, one of the things I would play the games and be like, oh, I wish I could have that minifig. I wish I could have that ship from the game. And for the longest time, I just couldn't because I didn't have the money. And so it was kind of nice to watch this series and think, I have all the characters. I have the merch from this series, if you want, in person. And not only do I have the Dark Millennium Falcon down here, I have Jedi Bob's Starfight. You may be wondering, who the hell is Jedi Bob? Well, that's a whole can of worms that I'm just opening now that I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to open anyway. Jedi Bob is kind of one of the most important characters in this series. And if you don't know who Jedi Bob is, basically, he was this myth. He's here now. It's a Lego minifigure. I don't know how well the camera's picking that up. But he was this myth in Lego Star Wars for the longest time. He was only featured in one Lego Star Wars set from like 2002 or 2003, and he hasn't been in any other Star Wars Lego set since that one set he was in. And I don't actually think he's featured in any of the movies, but for some reason Lego just put him in a set, because why not? Sometimes Lego does that. And so the Lego Star Wars fan base have been wanting Jedi Bob back in a set for a very long time. And this year, they released Jedi Bob's Starfighter, which Jedi Bob was included on. And at the same time, they made Jedi Bob one of the main characters in this series, which just made me smile quite a bit, because I am one of those people who've been wanting to see Jedi Bob in a Lego set for a long time. I didn't get Jedi Bob when he was originally released all the way back in 2002 and 2003. Man, I'm sounding like a geek right now. And, I mean, just look behind me. Clearly I am. Anyway, I was one of those people wanting to see Jedi Bob back in a Lego set for the longest time. I know we get all the Jedi Bob I think we need. You know, it's this myth in Lego Star Wars, and now he's back. He's one of the main characters in the TV show, and he's even got his own starship and his own Lego set. There you go, Jedi Bob. Hey, if you don't believe me, look it up. There's a whole rabbit hole you can go down in terms of Jedi Bob. But anyway, going back onto what I was saying regarding this show, I thought it was really funny. I liked how it played around the Star Wars franchise. I liked how it made fun of us as Star Wars fans, and I liked how it turned Star Wars on its head in the animated form that would only really work. You know, that didn't make sense. What I was meant to say was that would only really work in an animated form. There you go. I do wish it had a couple more, you know, quite a few more actually, hidden Easter eggs and hidden details here and there in the background of shots in this series, but oh, it made me smile, and I enjoyed it as a Star Wars fan, and as a Lego fan, and as a Lego Star Wars fan. And that is pretty much everything I have to say about Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. So, as what he said, and as I'm going to say once more in this podcast today, Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy is a 7 out of 10 from me. Anyway, guys, that's it for today's podcast. If you have seen Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. Maybe you hated it. If you did, by the way, I'd love to know why, or maybe you felt similar to me. Whatever your thoughts are on Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, please let me know your thoughts, and please let me know them in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this podcast. And look forward to many more podcasts coming very soon on this channel. As what he said, thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast, and I will see you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye.